All right, financial direction, not financial perfection. So we talked about saving 10%. We went over what to do with the 90%. Talking about having a 65-20-15 rule. You live on 65% of your take-home income, pay off your debt with 20%, and then saving 15. And the reason we said saving 15 is 5%, generally somewhere between 2 and 5%, you'll get some type of match at your job for 401k, and that's free money, and that's what I did. So I strongly advocate for that rule. And then above and beyond that, you're putting 10% away for your emergency fund. And if you can't do that, I realize not everybody can, 70-20-10. You know, whatever you're not matching at your work, you're saving that extra and putting it over in a savings account so that way you have your emergency fund and then you're living on the 70%. So I'm going to talk tonight about a word, and it's kind of, depending on who you are, it can be a dirty word, but the word wealth. And so, because essentially what you're doing is you're building your wealth. And my lovely wife normally comes in and helps me break all these bullet points down because the system doesn't allow you to do animations, so you have to do one slide per bullet point, but we're not going to do that tonight. So wealth is going to equal your income minus your expenses. And there's a caveat to this. When you start building wealth, it's your income plus your assets. But if we're just talking about somebody who's trying to get out of debt, this is where your wealth is. Wealth is income minus expenses. So what are your expenses? Expenses are everything that you use to live day to day, pay your bills, buy clothes, gas, tires, maintenance on the house, maintenance on the cars. It includes all the subscriptions that we talked about before. And it also includes things that you're going to buy for birthdays, for Christmas. Those are part of your expenses. Not saying not to do it, I'm just saying it's better when you start planning for it. And that's where that budget comes in that we talked about on Tuesday in the first week. So insurance is also a big expense. And I want to kind of talk about insurance for a few different reasons. So what kind of insurance do you pay for right now? Car, house, and life. And not everybody pays for life insurance. But that's why I want to kind of hover on this for just a little bit. So you're required to have car insurance, and if you have a mortgage, you're required to have house insurance. And even if you don't have a mortgage, I still have house insurance. I don't have the money to just replace my house right now. And if you don't have the money to replace something immediately, you have insurance on it. It's not a bad thing. But insurance costs are starting to go up, and they're going up a lot. So there's some things that we can do to mitigate costs. So when you start building your emergency fund is just for that, for emergencies. So if you had to replace your roof and you have a 1% deductible on your home, whatever the value of your home is, they take 1%, and that's what you have to pay to get your roof replaced. So where does that 1% come from? Well, if you hadn't planned for it, it's coming from your emergency fund. It's not a big deal. That's why you're saving that money, is for emergencies and for in the event, unlikely, that you lose your job. So, but what are some ways you can save on insurance? There's a lot of factors that go into insurance, your driving record, on homes, it's how many claims you put in the last, 4 or 5 years. I'm not an insurance guy, but I know they take a lot of things into account. So one of the things that I did when I started building an emergency fund is I went back, and every 6 months, I went to an independent broker and said, hey, am I getting the best deal on insurance? I have no loyalty to an insurance company because when it comes time to pay out, sometimes they'll fight you on some of these things. And I'm not for one particular insurance over another, and that's why I go with an independent broker. He shops around for me. I can shop for places that he can't, like Geico or what's another one? Yeah, Liberty Mutual. And they have some subsidiaries, and the whole insurance field is not my form of expertise. So I go to an insurance broker, and he'll shop around for me, and I'll say, here's what's going on. And if you bundle, it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't have to be Progressive. If you bundle, you kind of save. But another thing I do is I say, hey, I want you to start playing around with the deductibles. I've got an old Ford that's valued at $5,000. I think I could replace that. So I don't want full coverage on that. I don't need full coverage. I just need liability. So we'll drop that one down to liability, because eventually your car is going to be worth less and less and less and less and less until it comes down to it's worth $4,000 or $5,000 with your deductible. You could replace that. So I did the calculations on my insurance for a whole year of doing full coverage on this car, and I decided I can save that money and I can replace that car if I have to. So that's one way you could save. Another thing, they charge you to pay monthly on your car insurance and on your house insurance. Now, I think those are required. Yeah, underinsured and not insured motorists, I think those are required, and if they're not, I always do those, because you never know who's gonna get into. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, underinsured motorist is a great benefit. And that's why I always consult with this independent broker, because he can tell me about the new law changes. I don't have to follow them. He can tell me, hey, yeah, we had the best rate over here last 6 months, but let's move your auto over here, and then at the end of the year, because when you're with a mortgage company, you pay yearly for the insurance, and the reason they do that is because they know they get a discount, and your insurance is kind of bundled in with your home payment, and they kind of force you to do that now. So if you get used to paying it yearly, that's another expense that you're going to have to, like when you pay off your house, that mortgage payment doesn't go away. It just gets reduced by the principal and interest, because you still have to pay your taxes, which were bundled before, and you have to pay your insurance. And insurance is a big deal, and I wanted to kind of talk about it for a little bit. But your car insurance, if you pay that every month, they actually charge you to do that. But if you save up a little bit extra in that field to where you can write a check for the full 6 months, they give you a discount for paying it up front. Cash is what they call it, cash discount. And they haven't gotten away with, or they haven't done away with that discount yet, so I continue to take advantage. Now, they used to let me pay for a whole year, and I like that. Some still do, but what I found with all these increases is some of the ones that gave me a better rate for the exact same insurance, I could only do 6 months, which I'm fine with. But every time it's up, I start calling that insurance agent and say, hey, we need to shop around because it's the same insurance. I'm doing the same numbers, and then let's play with the deductible. You know, I have a little bit more money in my savings account now. I don't have to have a $100 deductible. I can go to $250. I can go to $500. I've even moved a couple of them up to $1,000. It's not necessarily the right move for everyone, but I found that over time, I was saving so much more money by increasing the deductible that it made sense for my situation. So it's something to look at. And then you mentioned one, life insurance. And I'm gonna sit on this for a little bit because I'm 41 years old. And if I got into the unfortunate event where I passed away, life insurance is something that protects my family in the future, so that if Brittany chose, she would never have to go back to work. And this is where I really, really like Dave's advice, Dave Ramsey. He talks about getting term life insurance for about 10 times what you make in a year. And the reason you do that is because term life insurance is cheaper, so it doesn't cost you as much per year. And then, so for the next 30 years, you're covered. And what you're planning on is that in 30 years, by saving your money and building your wealth, you're going to build a nest egg that will take care of your wife and you don't need the insurance anymore. Now, after 30 years is up, if you can still get another policy, go for it if that's what you want to do. But I did a 30-year term life insurance. And the reason you do it, for me, it's my job to provide for my family and protect my family. And this is covering both of those. I'm providing for them in the unlikely event or in the unfortunate event that I'm not here anymore, or I can't work. I get into an accident and I just can't go to work. There's some payouts for that. And the whole reason he does 10 times is so if you make $100,000 in a year, and I'm using nice round numbers just to make the math super easy, you get a policy for $1 million, because if you were to invest that and make an average rate of return somewhere around 8%, you can basically live on 4% and it will continue to grow and hopefully hold with inflation. So it's growing at 4% as you take off 4%, not for the year, but divided by 12, and then you take that 4% monthly. So, oh yeah, term life insurance, if you tell them, hey, I want to pay for the whole year up front, they'll do it. Yep. Yep. Oh yeah, to do the app on the insurance where they track your driving habits. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of ins and outs in insurance, and I'm not the guy to go to. I'm not the expert, but I do know for a fact that if you pay for the whole policy up front, you get a huge discount. And like you said, if you sign up for a service that says, hey, we'll give you a discount if we can track your driving habits, and you want to do that and you can get a discount, do it. I mean, we did that, and we've kind of bounced around insurance companies. Some do it, some don't. And the ones that do, we generally find that we get a decent discount after they track your driving habits for a little while. But they're tracking if you get on your phone while you drive, they're tracking your speed, what time of day you're driving. But working in the oil field, I don't get the greatest discount because I'm out in early mornings and sometimes out in late at night, and those are the times that are like they deemed higher chance that you're going to get into a wreck. So insurance, life insurance is super, super, super important in my opinion. I really like what Dave Ramsey has to say about this. 10 times your yearly income, get term life. There are some services that if you do the term life, they will require a medical check. There are some that do not. You know, they'll ask you a bunch of questions, but it's worth it. And that's just creating peace of mind for my family. It's not really creating peace of mind for me because I'm doing it on me in a hopefully a scenario that will never happen. I do, and I did get some on my spouse when she was working, and it was a 30-year term. And now that she's not working, they haven't asked any questions. It's still there. And that was for peace of mind for me, so that I can still work and provide for the family, but then I can make sure that Ava has quality of care while I'm at work. Yeah. Yeah. And that just, it's just a protection. And the only reason he suggests 30 years is if you follow this plan and you get out of debt and you stay out of debt, then in 30 years, you should get to the point where you don't need the insurance anymore. But then you can reassess at that time. So, on to the next point, monthly versus 6 month versus yearly, depending on what your insurance premiums are set up for. And we talked about you actually get paid, or get paid. You do not get paid. You get charged to pay monthly. And then I always budget for insurance to go up. I've been doing insurance and trying to pay it off, and every time I budget for what I'm paying, the next year I'm a few dollars short. So I take what I'm paying and I add 10%. And it doesn't always make it, because like you've seen in the last few years, it's gone up more than 10%. But that's the idea. You know, shop around for when the policy is done. That's something that I've done. Speaking of expenses, there are a lot of subscriptions out there available to catch your attention, to pay a little bit of money. And I'm not saying they're bad. I pay for Netflix. We have the ability to watch Netflix at home, and it's a subscription that costs me money. But I don't go out there and get Netflix and CNBC and NBC and HBO Max and Amazon. And I don't go get all of them. I get the ones that have some benefit for me. My wife is always on Amazon, always. So we have a subscription, so we supposedly get a better deal and get Prime shipping and all this, Amazon Prime. I don't know if we actually take advantage of it, but she's always on there. So she gets better shipping rates and better shipping times, and we pay for it. But that may not work for you. If you're not always on Amazon, you may not need the... Yeah. 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 And so some of the subscription services will actually offer you a discount for paying a whole year up front, and those aren't bad either. And if you're going to actually use them, pay for the year up front. Start budgeting it that way so that you can. One of those is the budget app, EveryDollar. I budget in there to pay it once a year because I get a little bit of a discount. It's only a few dollars, but it's a few dollars in my pocket. One of the things I have had the hardest time with is phone companies. And phone companies, they always change what they do, but now what they're doing is when they offer you that new phone for free, it's not really for free. They've figured out a way to say, hey, we're going to charge you for this phone every month, but we're going to give you a discount for the same price every month. So you're on a subscription for that phone. I haven't found a way to get around it unless you just don't want their benefit and you're just going to pay cash for your phone. Not everybody can do that. Some people want to, some people don't care. I mean, my bill is going to come in monthly no matter what I do. So we've taken advantage of that a few times when they have those special offers. But we don't have the newest phone. Our phones are like 3-4 years old. And every once in a while we'll go upgrade them when they start to feel too slow. But or if we just decide we want the new phone. But phone is a great place to save, and you don't have to go with the big ones, AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile. There's some other subscription services out there for phones that you can get pretty inexpensive rates. You have to understand that with phone companies, you have the 3 majors, and you get primary, what's considered primary service. And then all the subsidiaries, they'll say, what's one of them? Boost, powered by so-and-so. And it's powered by a major company, so you get to use that network. But in times of traffic and congestion, you are secondary to their customers. It's something that you got to live with, but it'll save you a lot of money on the phone if that's a place that you can save and you don't always need a smartphone. What else? We're going to switch over to income. So when it comes to income, there's ways we can reduce our expenses to help us build our wealth and pay off our debt faster, and then we're going to switch to income. Income, you've got your primary, which is your job, and you've got promotions, you've got bonuses. Some of those things you can control, some of those things you cannot. But you can always start a new job or get a second job or do a side hustle. It's something I did. I spent a little bit of money, and I've talked about this before. After I had my savings built up to 6 or 9 months, I spent a little bit of money to go get my realtor license. And then I started a side hustle, just selling houses on the side, trying to help out as many people as I could. But I wasn't one of the majors. I wasn't one of the ones putting a big billboard and saying, Scott Lynch, come buy your house for me. I didn't have that much time. So, but I was still able to sell 3 or 4 houses a year on average and bring in extra income to increase my income. I've started extra businesses on the side just to try and earn some extra money while I was paying off my debt. But then now I've gotten to the point where my debt is paid off, my time is more valuable. I don't spend as much time selling homes. I don't spend as much time on some of the side hustles. I've even let some of them go. But there's a lot of side hustles that you can start for $0, and it's pretty incredible, and you can actually make some good money off of them. You probably already have your equipment ready to go. You can start a side hustle mowing yards. I know several firefighters do that on the side. They come home and then they just mow yards. Handyman skills, if you're good at being a handyman. If you've already got the tools, you can hire out your skills. Building new skills. You can build new skills and get promotions at work and start other side hustles. So those are kind of the 2 big pieces that I want to talk about tonight is income and expenses, and I wanted to spend some time on that life insurance because I believe that's important to kind of take care of your family in an unlikely event. But yeah, that's all I had for tonight. So any other questions or comments? I thought they were good ones.